Hi, good afternoon. This is just a guide to this week's sky and what you can see in it. So, in the northern hemisphere, of course. So, after sunset, as far as Phoenix is concerned, well, just the United States, you can see Saturn for about a good hour after sunset in the southwest sky. A bright stationary point of light, Saturn. Low in the southwest, it's about 35 degrees high. Your outstretched palm, held at arm's length, is 25 degrees of geometric arc, and your fist is 10 degrees of geometric arc. So if you put your fist above your hand, if you start your thumb at the horizon and your pinky ends where your fist meets above it, that's 35 degrees. That's about how high Saturn is above the southwestern horizon right after sunset. In Phoenix, Pacific time, it appears at 6:25 p.m. and it's usually out of sight by 7:25. So Saturn's out after sunset. The moon's coming back into the sky here by about Thursday. You'll have a new crescent moon, a waxing gibbous moon. A waxing crescent be showing up around Wednesday or Thursday. So by Saturday, you should have a nice thick crescent moon. So the moon's coming back in the sky. What else here? Oh, don't forget the cycles of the moon, that an early evening moon is always before a full moon. So from a slim crescent to a full moon is 2 weeks. I'll actually have to do another broadcast about that. So you got 2 weeks between a brand new crescent and a full moon. So the first half moon before a full moon is a week after a new crescent, and then a week after the first half moon is a full moon. Now, everything before a full moon, every phase before a full moon is early, and once the moon is full, everything thereafter is a late rising moon. So the moon starts to rise later as soon as you hit a full moon. And lastly, of course, before sunrise, we have a wonderful show. We have Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, so don't miss that in the east. Low in the eastern sky, not very high, just all together low in the eastern sky. You have Venus comes out first around 4 in the morning, and then you got Mars after Venus about 4:30, and then you have Jupiter close to 5 a.m. So it's pretty cool to see 3 planets right now before sunrise. So there's a lot of action happening in the sky. And just a nice little shortcut equation formula for deciphering the moon's phases. Remember this. When you look at the moon, there's a right to left equation or formula, figuratively speaking. So the glare on the moon always moves from right to left as it progresses to a full moon. And after a full moon, the shadow on the moon progresses from right to left to diminish that full moon. So think about it. The common denominator with the moon's behavior is that it's always a right to left sequence of light or shadow. So when there's a new crescent, the glare, the white glare, the reflection of the moon's powder by the sunlight always moves from right to left as it progresses to a full moon. And then after a full moon hits, the shadow starts to progress from right to left along the moon until it diminishes back to a new moon. So you start with a new crescent, and then the glare progresses from right to left until it hits a first quarter, And then when it's a first quarter, the glare keeps moving from right to left until it becomes a full moon. And then once it's a full moon, the shadow starts moving from right to left, making it a waning gibbous moon. And as the shadow moves from right to left, it goes from a waning gibbous to a last quarter. And then the shadow keeps moving from right to left to go from a last quarter to a waning crescent. And once it's a waning crescent, the shadow keeps moving from right to left until it's a new moon and it disappears entirely. So remember those things about the moon. It's a little bit of a shortcut. And regarding the other things in the sky this week, you still have the summer triangle, which is formed by the stars Vega, Deneb, and Altair. So Vega is in the constellation Lyra, and Deneb is in the constellation Cygnus, and Altair is in the constellation Aquila. So those stars are overhead right after sunset, and then they start to wind down into the west. And out in the northeast, you got Cassiopeia coming up, you got Perseus coming up, you got the wonderful, exquisite, elegant star cluster, the Seven Sisters, or the Pleiades, coming up in the east. That's always visible beginning around 10 p.m. It's a good height in the western United States. So you got a wonderful star cluster coming up, which I saw through my telescope on Friday. It was beyond explanation. It was so elegant and beautiful. It was like a $5,000 view through my through my $300 telescope. I can't explain with words how many stars I saw so clearly and brightly through my telescope on Friday when I pointed my Meade ETX 80 400mm telescope with a 11mm 82-degree field Explorer Scientific eyepiece at the Seven Sisters star cluster. It was so beautiful. And aside from that, in the east you have Pegasus coming up the sky after sunset. You have in the south sky, you have Aquarius and Capricorn moving along the southern sky. You have something called the autumn triangle in the south on these fall evenings, which is formed by the star Fomalhaut in the constellation Piscis Austrinus. You have the star Difda in the constellation Cetus, and then you have the star Anka, A-N-K-A-A, in the constellation of Phoenix, the bird. Those stars, so you have like, on the bottom you have Anka, and then on the upper left you have Difda and Cetus, so Cetus to Phoenix to Piscis Austrinus. So you have like Piscis Austrinus over here. You know, my camera is probably reversing my finger, so my right is probably left and vice versa. But more towards the west you have a star called Fomalhaut. It's a bright white star. It's high in the high in the south, sort of high, a little bit high, like halfway up the southern sky you'll have Fomalhaut. And then low in the southern sky you'll have Anka, A-N-K-A-A, and then in the upper left of the southeast sky you'll have Difda in the constellation Cetus. So those stars form the autumn triangle, as I've called it. I've never heard anybody else. I mean, that's my invention. That's my name for it. And aside from that, let's see, and then Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius is out after sunset. That's falling down in the southwest sky on fall evenings currently. So hope you enjoyed the sky guide. Glad to provide it to you. If you have any other questions, feel free to like my page, Magic Carpet Stargazing, on Facebook, and send me a message. All right, you have a great day. Bye-bye.